What if you could rename all of these objects with their mesh name, index, and more? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, this is Omar Balfaki and welcome to my game development and filmmaking channel. And now I'm really excited to announce a new tool. This is my fourth tool on the asset store. It's called OB Object Rename, where we can just simply rename a lot of objects together using certain formulas. So simply we have it here. As always, you can get them from OB Tools and then Object Rename. And here we have it. So let's take a look at what it can do. Let's say we have these objects. We have all of them here. Okay, they're 625. This is my other tool. Never mind. So we have 625 objects. Usually you would just rename them here in the inspector. You just call it object, for instance. And you have them all set to object. Sometimes you just want to keep the same name, but you just want to append something next to it. For instance, the same name, and then you want to add test or snow or whatever. So let's see how we can do that. Here we have a bunch of variables that we can use. $sign and then the variable name. We have original, which is basically the current object name. And then mesh, the mesh name, index, which is just a counter. And then children, the child count, and tag, which is the current tag, whether it's untagged or any other assigned tag. So for now, let's just say we want the original and then space, and let's add snow to it, for instance. Let's hit rename. And now we have all of them: rock, snow, tree, snow, whatever the value they have or whatever the name they have. And then the other word we just added. So of course you can just undo that. And now let's say we want to use the original and then space, between parentheses, we want to use the index. So if I hit rename now, we can see that it starts from 001 with automatic padding all the way to object number 625. All right, so here's another thing. Let's say you stopped halfway, and let's say we started from here all the way through here, and we just renamed them. It stopped at 358. So if I decided to start from the other batch here all the way down and I start renaming it, it will start again from 1. We don't want that. That's why there is a start count from. Let's start from 359. So if I hit rename now, it will just continue smoothly. And one of the reasons why you would want to have a unique name is that, for instance, when working with animations, if they're all siblings in the same animation, they would need to have a unique name. Otherwise, the first occurrence of that name would have the animation only. The other objects won't be animated. And I just explained that in another video. You can check it out. And yeah, that's how we can just rename all of them with an index in no time. I think that would save a lot of time. And speaking of saving time, you don't even have to keep typing these keywords or variables. So I'm just gonna undo that. You can enable show fast naming, and then you will have the buttons right here. I can just simply reset, and it goes with original and the current index or counter. I'm gonna undo again. Let's say we want to use the mesh name. Okay. Usually that would be a case where, let's say I just renamed all of them to object. So now I cannot retrieve the actual object name. But if you select one of them, you can see here the mesh name is tree1lod0. This object is rock1, and so on. So let's use that name. I'm going to select all of them now. And I'm just going to use the mesh name. Come here, add a space between two parentheses, index, and just hit rename. And now we have whatever mesh name here with its index. And let's say you have, I'm going to create a couple of GameObjects and assign the objects inside of them randomly as children. Okay, so I'm going to select all of them now. This time I'm going to use the original name, which is whatever we see here in the hierarchy, and then space dash space, and we're going to use the children count. So if you hit rename now, you'll see these, they have 0 children because they don't have children, while these they have this amount of children: 55, 422, and 145. Another cool thing, let's say we have a game object here and it's an empty game object. So if I decided to use the mesh name, and let's add anything next to it, test for instance, then I hit rename, it will be space test. Why? Well, because it doesn't have a mesh. If you want to change that, let's undo. We can go to advanced settings, and then here we have mesh fallback name. So if the tool doesn't find an attached mesh or mesh filter to the object, it will revert to that name. So I can just call it no mesh. And now rename, it will be no mesh space test. Let's undo this. By default, if you enable it, you will see here it has $original, which means that you can use any of these variables right here. So if you hit rename now, it will keep the original name, then it will add the other keywords since it doesn't have a mesh. So let's look at it now together with these objects. So these objects, they have a rock mesh, while this one doesn't have a mesh at all. So if you try to rename all of them now, look what happens. These would have their mesh name and then test. It has overwritten the previous name. Since this one doesn't have a mesh and a mesh name, it just reverted to the original name and then it added test. And then here we have the index padding type. By default, it's set to auto. So if I decided to use manual, and let's see, we have a lot of them here, 145. So if I set it to manual and just set it to 0, and I'm going to use the original and index, this is the default value. So whenever you want the actual name underscore index, just hit the reset button here and it should reset that for you. So if we hit rename now, you will see that it starts with 1 without any zeros before that. But if we change it back to auto, now you will see the 001 because it's a 3-digit number and it just figures out the padding for you automatically. So if I go to manual and just say 5, the padding width, rename it, now you will see 5 zeros or 5 digits here. It's always just better to keep it at auto unless you have something else in mind. Then you can definitely use the manual and change the padding width. Otherwise, it will calculate it for you and just use an auto padding for the index numbers. And then you have tag. In our case, all of them, they don't have a tag. If I rename it, you'll see untagged. I think that's basically it. I hope you like the tool. And if you get it now, probably there is a discount for the first 1 or 2 weeks, I think. The release discount. You can get it now and check out the other tools as well and my OB tools bundle. This is Omar Balfaki. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.